The story starts with Nekomiya-san, a beautiful girl with blonde hair from class 1 walking down a hallway. Two girls in school uniforms were talking about her. Then Nekomiya-san is saying that her high school life had been surprisingly peaceful despite her appearance. She introduced herself as Kotoha Nekomiya, 16 years old. In the classroom, she slammed her fists on the desk, thinking that it was supposed to be a peaceful life, and angrily screamed out, "Sachio." Two girls next to her asked who Sachio was. She replied that it was the landlady of her boarding house. They said, "Ah, that place in the middle of nowhere." Nekomiya then said not to call it the middle of nowhere. The house is 30 minutes away from the nearest station and is surrounded by steep hills. She tells them that apparently Sachio-chan hurt her back. In a flashback, Kotoha's talking to Sachio on the phone. Sachio explained to her how she injured her back. She slipped on the way to the swimming pool. In the background, there is a young guy in front of the boarding house. Kotoha tells her that she wasn't asking about her injury, but rather the guy at the house. Sachio asks her if she is talking about Itsuki. Sachio explained that Itsuki was the son of her nephew. He was a fourth-year college student currently on leave, and she mentioned that she felt bad leaving Nekomiya alone while she was gone, so she had asked him to fill in as the substitute landlord. Nekomiya protested that she didn't want to suddenly live with a stranger, and just the two of them no less. But Sachio replied that there wasn't much she could do about it. The location of their boarding house was so bad that no one else was willing to move in. It was fine, Sachio said. She had already warned Itsuki that if he laid a hand on her, she would crush his balls. Nekomiya, unhappy with her response, thought to herself why Sachio had built a house in such a location then. Sachio repeated that that was exactly why, and said with a sharp face that if anything happened, Kotoha should rely on Itsuki-kun. In shock, Kotoha called out her name. As Sachio wished her good luck, the call ended, and Kotoha let out a sigh, staring at her phone with helplessness. The scene shifts to the new landlord, Itsuki, explaining the situation to her. With a smile, Itsuki said that they should try to get along for the next 3 months. Kotoha had responded with a flat, serious face, not saying a word. Back in the present, she said repeatedly that it was way too sketchy, and found it so sketchy that she held her head looking as if she was in pain. When her friend said what was wrong with that living with an older guy sounded great, and that she should totally let him spoil her, she answered that there was no way. She thought, what kind of landlord did all that? She pictured super fancy meals, a sparkling clean room without a single speck of dust, and wondered what kind of landlord did all that. She added that that was not normal, and froze with a stunned expression. She remembered another odd moment when he had asked if she wanted tea and had then served a whole extravagant afternoon tea set with a calm smile while wearing an apron. One girl had squealed in amazement, saying that was amazing, and had teased that she should just have him make her his girlfriend already. Kotoha had thought that guys who could do housework were way too dangerous. The other girl, with a tense face, had said that a college guy who hit on high school girls was just plain creepy. The girl with pigtails had nonchalantly replied that it was close enough. At that moment, a girl by the door had walked in and said that there had been someone standing outside in front of the school gate for a while now. At one point, Kotoha and the girl with pigtails looked out the window, both surprised by what they saw. From their viewpoint, they saw a young man standing outside the school gate. They began to speculate about who he might be. The girl with pigtails suggested he might be a parent, while the girl with bob-cut hair thought he was way too young for that and guessed he could be someone's older brother. Kotoha squinted at him, trying to figure out who he was, while the young man looked left and right, clearly looking for someone. All of a sudden, the went stiff, her eyes wide with the realization of who he was. The girl with bob-cut hair peered out the window. Saying it seemed suspicious, the girl with pigtails, still smiling, replied that he could be someone's boyfriend. Then she called to Kotoha, and turning back wondered where she was. When she turned back to the room, Kotoha was gone. Outside at the school gate, Kotoha stood before Itsuki, her new landlord, demanding to know why he had come to school. The young man said he had forgotten to give her lunch that morning, so he had brought it to her. Kotoha echoed, "Lunch?" He casually explained that he didn't have her contact information and had wondered how to give it to her. Internally, Kotoha questioned if he was serious and really just naturally like that. A male teacher stepped around the corner, yelling for the two to wait a second. The teacher, with a serious face, said he had heard there was someone suspicious around, so he had come to check. Suddenly, he asked if one of them wasn't Nekomiya. The girl thought, with a troubled face, that it was Kumada from student guidance, the teacher, who often calls her out for her appearance. The teacher then turned to Itsuki and asked if he was Nekomiya's guardian. The man replied he was her landlord, making the girl repeat landlord in surprise. The young man explained he had just come to deliver lunch to Kotoha. The teacher said he didn't care if he was her landlord or whatever. He told the man if he was done then he should leave. Some students in the background wondered what was going on and thought the man was some kind of weirdo. Then the teacher called out Nekomiya. He told her that her piercings and flashy hair color needed to be fixed. Itsuki turned around and looked at the situation. The teacher continued his lecture saying that if students walked around dressed like that, the school's reputation would suffer. He added that he didn't care about diversity or any such matters and insisted that kids should simply do as adults told them. Nekomiya silently reacted, thinking that she was hearing the same old argument again. She wondered to herself why adults were always like this. She imagined society's so-called common sense as massive hands squeezing people into the same mold, with adults forcing their own views and standards onto everyone else without regard for individual differences. With her eyes closed and a resigned air, Nekomiya thought it was whatever and that she had gotten used to it by now. The teacher again asked if she was even listening. Itsuki, who turned around with a determined face, said that he didn't like a world where people couldn't say what they truly liked. He repeated that children could remember a teacher's offhand comment for the rest of their lives. He added that the teacher should really watch what he said. The teacher, shocked, was only able to respond with a stunned "Wah?" With a disturbed face, Kumada murmured, "Who do you think you are? You're not even part of this school." The onlookers reacted, saying he was so stubborn. The teacher, his face tense with anger, pointed at the students watching them, calling them out as the ones who had butted in and joined the fuss. To the crowd, he shouted fiercely, telling them to get back to class. Kotoha thought with worry that things were bad. Itsuki patted her head gently. She remained still. As she stood there, her face turning red, Kotoha remembered when she was younger and had asked her mother for a new school bag. At home that evening, her mother had asked her why she wanted a new bag, saying Kotoha had told her it was sparkly and cute. Her mom had wondered if someone had made fun of her, making Kotoha nervous. Her mother then squeezed her face gently and told her that other people were other people. They were themselves. She told Kotoha she did not have to change the things she loved for anyone. She thought that maybe the new landlord wasn't the kind of bad adult she had believed he was. Afterwards, Kotoha was shown outside the apartment building with a tired look. Resolving to thank the landlord for the lunch and everything else that day, Kotoha opened the door to the house. Opening the door with a slightly nervous yet focused expression, she was taken aback to find the landlord asleep on the couch, hugging a pillow. She carefully approached the couch. When she got closer, she noticed something that made her stop with a startled expression. She spotted a desk cluttered with study materials. Among them lay a heavy book titled Chef Certification Illustrated Textbook. She wondered if he was trying to become a chef, and thought that explained why he was so skilled at cooking. Sitting there with her face resting on her hand, she reflected that landlord must have had things he needed to do for himself. She thought of his kindness, always making meals and caring for her. Then suddenly, Itsuki woke up, jolting the girl. He saw Kotoha with glasses sitting on the floor, clutching her chest with a tense face. He thought with a stunned face, wondering when he had fallen asleep. Then the boy greeted her, saying, "Welcome home." The inner monologue revealed her determination. She reminded herself that she had to properly thank him for everything that day, and needed to say, "Thank you." Facing him, she uttered, "Landlord." He turned to her with a questioning expression. Suddenly, the boy leaned toward her, surprising Kotoha. Both of their faces became playful at the moment. She asked with a flustered face what he was doing. Then the boy loudly said to take it off. The girl's face turned cold, and she wondered if he wanted to fight. Kotoha, visibly shaking with anger, yelled that he was a pervert and a lowly freak, exclaiming that she knew he was suspicious. Itsuki, looking confused and panicked, shouted back, asking what the heck she was saying. Itsuki explained nervously that there was a bug on her shoulder, and if she moved, Kotoha shouted for him to say that first, as she flung her jacket off in horror, screaming no with a terrified expression. Noticing the time, landlord Itsuki said, "It's already this late? I need to start making dinner." And Kotoha let him go, thinking to herself in frustration that it was the worst, and she had totally misunderstood the situation. While wearing an apron, Itsuki asked if she was about to say something, and Kotoha blamed him in her mind, thinking it was definitely 100% his fault for how he had phrased things. With a serious face, Kotoha stared at Itsuki and demanded he do his job as a proper landlord. If Itsuki tried anything weird, Kotoha would end him. Suddenly, Kotoha's foot slipped, and she yelped in surprise. Reflexively, Itsuki reached out and caught her hand, steadying her. Their close proximity made Kotoha blush slightly. As she composed herself, Itsuki assured her it was okay and told her to leave it to him. The boy then addressed her respectfully, saying, as for Kotonoha-chan, he would make sure she was absolutely happy. Kotoha, blushing, laying in his arms, didn't know what to say.